Here's an old adage with a lot of truth. If you don't use it, you lose it. Let's talk about what that actually means, though.
Man, yeah.
Right? I heard that so many times.
What did that originally refer to?
That is
I know fitness-wise what we're going to get to, but...
That is a great question.
Yeah.
I bet you, I'm going to guess, maybe Doug can look this up, Jack LaLanne is the first person to say
Oh,
it.
you think so? You think it was a fitness saying first?
Yes. I think it was Jack LaLanne that said it first. I'm gonna guess. This is a total guess, but I feel 60%
I feel like I'm where
confident.
Justin's head is at. Justin's thinking it's probably something outside of fitness, and then we've
Like
used
a jingle,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it's
like a
we've-
cereal.
We've brought it into it.
If you don't use it, you
I
lose
remember
it.
being it referred to like things like riding a bike when I was little. Like that's the first time
Like
I
a
think
skill, yeah.
Yes.
So I'm
Well,
thinking,
that's what it
Yes.
means. That's literally what it means
Well,
in fitness.
I know, but I mean, I don't know if it was it originated from a fitness person.
I really feel.
I hope
it was
Doug
Jack
can find this.
Yeah.
I'm super curious.
But
now.
look up origins of, because you don't know how to Google right. Origins of, if you don't use it, you lose it. There's a skill to using Google, by the way.
Yeah.
All right, so what does that mean? Okay, so the way we use it and why there's truth behind the way we're going to explain it is whenever you stop practicing a movement, whenever you stop doing a particular exercise, you actually begin to lose the skill of that particular movement. And for example, if you stopped overhead pressing and you avoided lifting your arms above your head for most of the time, eventually you would start to lose that skill. It'd be very difficult for you to do it, and you would start to develop compensations as a result. Same thing with a barbell squat or a deadlift or a row or a press. And this is one of the main reasons why it's so important to use a variety of movements and exercises, because you actually start to lose that skill. And this applies even to the most fundamental of skills. For example, if you stopped walking for a long time, let's say you were injured for a year in a hospital bed for a year, and you did no walking, when you got up to start walking again, you would quickly find that you had to kind of relearn the skill of walking to some extent. So it's a very true statement. And that's this is why when people say things like, oh, you could develop your legs without ever having to squat, or, oh, you never have to do an overhead press, you can still build your shoulders. There may be some truth in some of that, but also we're missing
also
a
a
big,
dark side to that.
very dark side. You lose the skill of doing those things, and those are fundamental movements.
And I mean, the body's an efficiency machine. It's whatever you're telling it to do and prioritizing is what it's going to focus on, making sure like the energy management is allocated in that direction. So whatever you start to deprioritize is what it's going to inevitably sort of prune off. And this is what we see later on, where strength, especially around the hips with older people, if they're not maintaining squatting, they're not maintaining these type of hip hinging patterns, it really becomes problematic with the way that they're able to function and carry on the rest of their days.
Dude, said very, very brilliantly, and it's completely true, because you're maintaining skills and movement patterns costs energy, and your body's always looking to become as efficient as possible, just like you said, and reduce its energy expenditure. And if it has no demands to do a particular movement, your body's like, we don't need this. Let's remove this. Let's prune this off.
Yeah, I'm trying to think right now. Which did I see more of, the squatting or actually over? I think I would make the case that overhead stuff goes first for clients. I mean, I think I see
I think you're right.
I think I see the overhead thing even more in younger people today than I used to. Like advanced age clients, it was almost a given. Like if you had somebody north of 60 years old, getting them to squat just down to 90 degrees or heaven forbid below that was nearly impossible or very difficult to get them to, and or reach their arms above their head. And I guess I think it's because our daily lifestyle just doesn't require that anymore. So if you do not make an effort to actively train the body in those planes or to go through that range of motion, you absolutely prune it off and lose it. And I think we're seeing this happen earlier and earlier because of technology and stuff. We're getting to a place now where, I mean, we've talked about this or we've alluded to it a couple times where Justin has had models, right? Because we've replaced all of our video demos and stuff in the programs with models instead of any of us. And we would, contract obviously people that are in really good shape and fit to be models for a fitness program. And many times Justin would be stressing out because he's like, fuck, they can't do this like basic overhead press when that is a very fundamental movement. And we're talking about people in their 20s and 30s
Who are built.
Yeah, that
Built,
have
muscular.
muscle because they just stop doing that. So I can't stress the importance of that enough. And I think it's going to get worse right than it is before it gets better because I don't think enough people do it.
You're right, because if you go back 50 years, your job and your daily activity included a lot of stuff, and now it's just sitting down. The attitudes in medicine have even changed around this. So it used to be where if you struggled walking, they would immediately have you use a cane or a walker. Like, no, use this real quick. Now they actually try to extend how long they can keep you from using those things, because what we find now is that when you start using a walker, you lose the ability to walk without a walker even faster. Your body starts to adapt to using a walker or adapt to using a cane. So if you take somebody who starts to use a walker, you know that them walking without a walker becomes more dangerous faster after they start using that walker. I know this with my grandma. My grandma eventually went to starting to use a walker. And I remember I was really trying to figure out a way to kind of prolong that. And I told her, I said, honey, Nonna, I said, when you use this, you're going to lose your ability to walk without it much faster. So we got to figure out a way to keep you moving without as long as possible. Now she's, in her late 80s and, inevitably we had to use it. But yeah, that's the case. And medicine has actually changed around that.
Have you seen some of the crazy interventions now they're coming up with in terms of like getting people to go through walking patterns again that can't walk? So they have like zero gravity treadmills.
Oh, yeah.
And they have like these, what do they call, like exoskeleton type of,
they're like suits, right?
little suit that they put on, for their lower half of their body. But it just starts to program and take them through those movements, even though they don't have that connection yet. Eventually, like with some people, I'm sure this isn't the case with everybody, but it's able to, refire those signals again and get the brain to respond and actually connect with that again and helps them walk.
This is true for all movement patterns. So it's like if you want to be able to throw a ball forever, then practice throwing a ball. If you want to be able to, jump rope or run, you got to practice it frequently, or you'll lose the ability. I had personal experiences with when we did windmill. I remember years ago, we programmed windmills into one of our programs, which now we really talk highly of a windmill. And I went to try doing it, and I couldn't. It was like my body just didn't want to move in that way. And I remember it was like, oh crap, this is not good. So I practiced it, and then I was able to do it. But it was because I never did windmill. I never did that movement pattern. So I just didn't have it. Even though I was fit, I wasn't old. So regardless of what builds the most muscle and burns the most body fat, makes you look a particular way, don't forget that you have to practice movement patterns or you lose them eventually.
Well, the windmill, I think, addresses what I think is the third most common, right? So I think the three most common are the ability to squat deep, the ability to lift your arms above your head, and then rotational strength.
Yeah.
Those three are the most common that I think I would see in clients that you would, and
that's the compass test in MAPS Prime, by the way.
It is.
Those are the three things that we put in there.
Intentionally.
Well, and I think if you do a really good job of addressing those three, you cover some pretty good basis of, like, as far as protection for yourself and then keeping the basic fundamental skills of everyday life. Whereas if you lack in one of those, that's where you see injury and overcompensation.
Totally, 100%.